Dobry wieczór.
Dobry wieczór.
Okay, I'm here with Creaton. He's from Alternate. Going to do one of my grilled interviews with him. The interesting thing is, a lot of people who are fans of League of Legends are quite casual. They only watch like the big tournaments and they'll tune in to watch like MLG or IEM or something. And so some players won't even have heard of you until this season. Okay, but actually I joined Team Acer in like June of last year, and you were a player on this team, the Acer Polish team. And at the time, in like online cups, etc., your team was considered to be like rising stars. People thought you were maybe going to be good offline. But in your first few offline events, it seemed like online there were certain teams you could beat, but then the offline events, like the teams who were like ranked 1 to 5, say, would beat you each time.
Yeah.
Do you agree with this?
I think in Team Acer we lacked experience at the beginning, and I think we could achieve something big in this team, but after a few bad events we just our like mood in the team was really bad, and like we just split up. So I think it's mainly because of experience at the beginning, and then people just didn't want to play with each other, so I didn't see a point in continue playing with Team Acer, and we just split up.
The strange thing about the lineup of that Acer team, if someone goes back and looks on Leaguepedia as to what it used to be, is that basically all of the players in that lineup actually went on to do bigger things. So you and Super AZ had a good time in Curse.EU afterwards, but then 3 of the other members were in the Nexus team, which was quite good for a while, and people thought they might make it in LCS. You were explaining there like some of the problems that might have happened with the team. Do you think if the team had stuck together, it would have still gone on to something bigger, or do you think like that unit couldn't like work, those 5 people couldn't work together?
I think if 5 people, because we were really skilled, like individually we were really good, like we were at the top of solo queue rankings and our mechanics were really good, but for me a successful team is a team who mash up personalities, mash up together with each other, and they have fun together. They do like not everything, but they hang out together and they just have a good time. And when you just start fighting in the team and people are getting mad, they don't want to play with each other, then it's bad. But if we take a skill level, if we play together for like 6 months more, I think we would be on top of Europe at least.
At the time, with the Acer lineup, the big team who got in your way was SK, like at the ECC Poland and at the actual regional final. They were the team who beat you. That was the SK team who people then remember actually surprised CLG.EU and made it all the way to the finals. But they had to change a lineup a lot of times since then. How good actually was that SK lineup? Because some people think that was like their best lineup. What do you think?
For me, SK is a team that they can play really bad, but it doesn't matter, because when they go for bootcamp for 1 or 2 weeks, they practice really hard, and this is like, for me, is the best thing to team, that you can improve, because some teams, like we have the problem in Alternate, even though we play a lot, we're not improving. That's my feeling, and SK can do this really well. So, but I don't think their lineup was the best. I think like if someone changes the lineup, he's changing it for better, because they are smart people. Like they are one of the best players in Europe and they are smart. So if they change something, they change it for better.
One of the interesting things was the team that you went to afterwards, this Curse.EU lineup. A lot of people might only remember, okay, so they were the team who beat Moscow 5 at Tales of the Lane. But most people don't actually know that that lineup only, I calculated it, they only stayed together for something like 3 weeks with that 5-man lineup. So you got this 5-man lineup, you beat Moscow 5, you won Tales of the Lane, people were like, wow, this could be like a new top team in Europe. Then you did badly at the Dreamhack. Then before you even got to IPL 5, like 1 man was gone already. Is this a team where I like asked some people around the team for like some questions to do some research into this, and someone told me that the problem with that team was like the communication between some of the members. Like an easy way to describe it is like this: the player afterwards, Angush, has always had a bad reputation for being like someone who argues a lot, and then also people said that Super AZ, the person who played in the bot lane with you, like didn't always get along with some other members in the team. So can you kind of explain now, since it's so far away, why didn't this team stick together if it was so good?
to be honest, I'm not gonna tell names or anything, but people were just, I don't know how to explain it. They just didn't listen, like single things, not only in game, just in real life when we were at bootcamp, and like people were really unmature and stupid. Like I can't call it in other way, but that's it. Like as I said, if you don't like mash up together, if someone is like one member doesn't like everyone else, then it's not gonna work, because we have to work together for like at least 5-6 hours a day. So it's not gonna work like this.
So I actually already did a grilled with Tabs, the guy who's in Lemon Dogs, and at the time when you were in Curse.EU, he was in Eclipsia. And I'd asked him about the fact, because they'd played you in the final of Tales of the Lane, and I asked him, like, did he already know that the Curse.EU lineup was that good, that they could beat Moscow 5, etc.? And he told me that they'd actually been practicing with you before that event, so they already knew from online practice, oh, this team's going to be really good. Did you yourself know before Tales of the Lane, like, we can beat Moscow 5?
Actually, before the event, it might sound cocky, but I knew that we're going to beat Moscow 5, because 2 weeks in the bootcamp, we only prepared for them. Every ban and pick, we knew it before the game. We knew what they're gonna play, we knew what we are gonna play, and it was a matter of doing mistakes, and we didn't do that much mistakes, so we won the games.
Is there some kind of okay, let me put it like this. At the time, for people who are watching the interview now and they're trying to remember back in time, Moscow 5 had only ever lost offline to CLG.EU and Type A Assassins. They only ever lost twice on LAN. So you were the third team to ever beat them. Well, think of all the good teams they played over that period of time, like CLG, all these famous teams, and none of them could beat them. What do you think your team did differently? Was there anything in-game, like any key moments or any key strategy you think that helped you beat them?
As I said, we just were preparing just for them. Like I think there was 6 teams at that tournament, and we
4, I think.
Yeah, 4, and we prepared just for Moscow 5. So, like, I don't know, but at this time we were like watching the replays, everything, analyzing everything, what we can do, what we shouldn't do, where do we go and when. Like we like read Moscow 5 like a book before the tournament, and then we just took the wins like easily.
Since, well, like I mentioned, the history there of getting that special win over Moscow 5, it's easy to say from that, okay, well, this must have been a special 5-man lineup. But if we actually look at the names in the lineup, aside from Super AZ, who sort of disappeared after that for a while, the rest of you all went on to become like better known since then. So for example, this season you had like Extinct and Maluno were in NIP doing quite well, helping them out. Who else was in that lineup? Oh, Angush obviously went on to be in Millenium with you later and was well known before then. What do you actually think, just taking aside personality problems, the actual like skill of that team and the style of that team, how would you describe it? Like how good actually was that lineup of players?
I think Angush and Maluna, they work really good together. So it was just perfect. Extinct, he's a really wise guy. He's smart, he's making good calls in game, he's a good leader. So I think, yeah, they are like really good. We were individually we were really good again, but shit happens.
So after you have this great result, you go to the Dreamhack Winter event, and what people will not remember is the number of teams at this event. There weren't actually very many good teams, and so when you look on paper, you think, oh well, Curse.EU, CLG, Fnatic, okay, they're definitely all going to make the semi-finals. And so the big shock was that your team didn't make the semi-finals. You lost to Wolves, and then you got into this tiebreaker scenario where you didn't make it through. And people now will think, oh well, Copenhagen Wolves are really good now, but at the time, no one even knew they were any good. Okay. So is it the case that losing to like teams who were sort of unknown at the time was like a factor in, you think, why the team broke up? Like if your team had made like the semi-finals or the final of Dreamhack, you think it would have got with all 5 players to IPL 5 and there wouldn't have been this breakup?
No, because we had problems before, and I think we performed that poor because of these problems. Like we just couldn't play together longer anymore.
I heard another problem was that when you joined Curse.EU, Curse was considered like a big organization, had lots of money, etc. And so the idea was, okay, we'll bring your lineup in and you're going to have a house in Germany and you'll all play there and it'll be like proper pro gaming scenario. But I heard from someone involved with Curse that you never got the house and that you guys moved to Germany, but you were sort of like stuck in a hotel, and then as a result, you know, like it's not fun to just be in a hotel with someone instead of having like your own room. And was this an issue? Was this the case?
I don't think, but like we were told that we're gonna get everything, and I think the connection between our manager and Curse was really bad because they were in America, and like I heard different things from organization and our manager, and we didn't manage to get a house. We just were stuck in the hotel, and we were practicing in small office. I think it was Mousesport's office in Berlin. So pretty much that's it. I think the connection between us and Curse were really poor.
Because the thing that makes it seem like that 5-man lineup could have been something even better was that, okay, so you lose Super AZ, your bot lane partner, like days before IPL 5. You go to IPL 5 anyway, and you have to use Patoy, this guy who's now in Dignitas as the support, but like, you've never played with him before, you bring him in last minute, and yet somehow you beat TSM, who was considered like the best NA team in the group stage. Like, was this just a fluke? Had you really never played with him? You just went into the game and just somehow beat TSM?
That's actually true, but in my opinion, if we change one person, it's not a really big deal. One person can't destroy our team play. It's just impossible. So we just play well, and we took the win quite easily, as far as I remember.
Because you won that game, it actually meant that your upper bracket draw, you ended up getting CLG.NA, and obviously that's like an infamous lineup. They had like Loco Doco for that event, etc. They have Doublelift. And whenever you talk about AD carries, people always want to mention Doublelift. He's so famous. So you got to play him directly, obviously not necessarily with like your preferred support player. But what was it actually like to play against him? Was he like as good as people hyped him to be?
For me, it doesn't really matter with who I play. If he plays good, for me it's fine. And the games versus CLG were epic, as far as I remember. I think I even stole a Nashor with volley from Ash. I think at that time Doublelift, he wasn't that strong, but right now everyone is like hyping him so much that he's the best in NA and like maybe in the world. So if so many people are talking like this, I think that that's true, because like millions of people can be like, they can't make a mistake, you know. If they consider him like so many people as a really good player, then he has to be a really good player.
The thing that people always talk about with him is mechanics, and that's what people in general talk about AD carry. They're always mentioning how the guys who have amazing mechanics are the best. Did his mechanics seem really good in those games? People say that your mechanics are really good. Are yours like comparable?
At this point, his mechanics like in game were really good, and at this point I think I managed to do well against him. I don't really remember, it was really far ago, so I think we were like equal at that point.
So after this lineup, Curse understandably kind of breaks apart because the team had already lost a player. Then you and Angush go to Millenium, and the strange thing is, again, we have another lineup like the Acer one, like the Curse.EU one, where the team isn't together that long. It's like a few months, but we see the names on the list, and again, these are players who we now know have done better things. Like Tabs was on that team, and he's obviously now in Lemon Dog's doing really well. From what I've heard again from other interviews and talking to other players, it sounds like Millenium was like the same story all over again. Like, people can't get along in a team, the team's good, but it can't survive if it has one bad result offline. Is this true?
I think I'm cursed, because it's always like this. Right now it's different, and I'm really happy. Yeah, that's actually true. Everything is true. Like nothing else to add.
So the big problem with the Millenium team, if you look at the results overall, okay, if I could go through the results and I say, okay, forget the spring qualifier for a minute, we'll just look at the other results. The other results look really good. Like, you get to the semi-finals of the IEM event, Sao Paulo, I think. Then you get to, you're like one of the only European teams that even made it out of the group stage at the World Championships when all these other big names failed, SK, Fnatic. So that all looks really good. Like, wow, this is going to be a top team, this Millenium team. But the real problem is these qualifiers for the LCS. How could this team be so good? Like, I heard from some other players that like online you were just crushing everyone, all the scrims you were just winning them all. Is this really true? How could the team be so good there and then just offline you can't even get into LCS?
That's true. We were doing so well online. Like, as far as I remember, we were playing scrims against Fnatic, and us and Fnatic were considered as like 100% qualified for spring season. But we went offline. I can't explain this. Like, we just played so bad. Like, it's so funny for me because it happened to me like twice before. So maybe it's because of me. I don't even know. I don't know what to say.
Because the interesting thing is, like I said, because of these scenarios that happened along the way, it's like you always had a chance where you could have like broken out and gotten much more famous and been known as such a great AD, but you were kind of like underground in the sense that because you never made the big splash, people didn't get to know you so well. And so there was a weird scenario where when you were brought in this season to alternate, like right at the last minute, some people didn't necessarily know you that well. And in the first weeks, you were like owning everyone in LCS. Everyone was like, oh, he's the best player in LCS. Had you really gotten so much better for the summer season of LCS, or were you always this good? Like, how do you evaluate your level like that?
To be honest, I don't think I got better. Maybe I did, but I think I still play like I played before. I just adapted to the new meta really fast, and like champion pool is really good for me right now. We play champions like Vayne, like Ezreal. They are my favorites, so I think I just adapted really well to meta, and it took hours to like work hard on my mechanics. So I think that's it. In
this season, your team, every time you've been playing, they were really good, very good early in the season, even had some good results since you came back. But then the period when they didn't do so well was obviously the period when you were injured, where you broke your hand. Is it a stupid question to ask, if you'd been in the team and you hadn't broken your hand, would your team have been the top of the whole of LCS? Because I mean, it was still very close even when you were out of the team. So would that have been the difference that you needed?
To be honest, I think we would have won more games with me. I feel so guilty for this, like, because right now we are fighting for. Actually, we are fighting to going to the playoffs. We are like tied with 4 teams or something like this. If we lose one more game, I think we might not go to playoffs. And like with me, I think we won't be in that bad spot, because right now we have to fight for our lives.
So the interesting thing about your particular lineup of players is that all these lineups that you've been in, on paper, have a lot of players from different countries and a lot of very skilled players. Like, that's the main core quality, is that they're very, very skilled. And so some people might think this is an unusual lineup because everyone says, oh, it's all the solo Q stars just playing in one team. But it seems like that's the type of team you've played in for most of your career. Do you think this is the case? Is this like the style that naturally suits you, the type of team?
For me, it's like when we have 4 really good players and one player, like one captain, he can. For example, I would prefer to play with the best mechanically guy on mid lane, like without experience, but some players like Araneae, for example, he will think for this mid laner, like he will tell him what to do exactly, and he just has to play and use his hands, like perfect hands.
So. And actually, just to go back to a question I forgot to mention, when you were in Millenium, you got to play against Frost, who's like a legendary Korean team, and the big player in bottom lane there is this player MadLife, who plays support, and everyone jokes and says like he's just like the best support ever. What was he like to actually play against? Was he unusual from other supports? Was it like similar to playing top level supports? How do you compare him to the people you've played in support?
Back then he played Taric and Lulu, and with Taric and Lulu you can't really show like big plays or something like this, so I felt really confident because when I see his like Blitzcrank or trash plays on OGN, I'm like, oh my god. So I don't know, I probably would be scared, but when I play against good players, I think I perform better because I want to prove myself and show them that I can play really good as well.
So you played Dota for a number of years before League of Legends, and there's a really lazy stereotype about Dota, which is, oh, it's so much more mechanically demanding. Individually, people can have more of an impact on the game, which there's obviously truth to this. But in League of Legends, you play the role that people consider the most mechanically demanding. How much of a difference really is there in terms of mechanics that you have to do in Dota and AD carry in League of Legends? Is it comparable?
For me, people that are saying that Dota is more skillful, like requires more skill and stuff like this, I think it's not right, because in the end of course, Dota is harder to learn. When you are joining Dota, it's really hard to learn. But if you reach some level and you play versus other teams with your team, you play versus other players. So it can't be like harder or something like this, because if in League of Legends you also play versus other players. So it just like one human is playing versus another one. So like the game is not harder or anything. It's just harder to learn at the beginning.
Most people who play AD carry, especially if they played in Season 2, they actually think back on Season 2 really fondly, because they think, oh, AD carry used to be stronger then, you know, I used to be able to like have more of an impact on the game, and they complain sometimes about Season 3, saying the changes made it not so good. But I actually saw an interview where you said that you liked Season 3 for AD carry better than Season 2. So can you explain this to me? Because most people wouldn't necessarily agree.
I think I like Season 3 overall more than Season 2, because right now, like in Season 2, everyone was weaker, and now every team has grown so strong. So everyone has more plays to do, more plays to do the plays, like, and it's more interesting to watch. It's more interesting to play versus like a player that can simply outplay you or something like this. I think I just like this improvement. And in AD carries, I liked when they add lifesteal queens, but I dislike the Corki nerfs because I really liked him. I hope they can buff him soon and I can play him again.
You're most famous for your Ezreal. What is it about this champion that just works for you so well? Is there something about like the champion itself that like you just have some natural skill for this, or it's like there's something about that you like to use?
I don't really know, but I think when someone mastered a hero, like I mastered Ezreal, I play like maybe 500 games with Ezreal, then I'm gonna play better Ezreal than, for example, Vayne or Misfortune, which I played 200 games. For me, it's like obvious because I know my limits. I know where to go, when, what can I do. Like I know everything on this champion because I played so many games. I've seen every scenario in the game, so I'm able to perform. Like I'm able to pull the maximum from this champion.
I asked you before, like the interview, if you watch OGN at all, and you told me you watched the last season at least of OGN Spring. What do you think of the AD carries in Korea? Because in general, people used to say like they're not as good as some of the other regions, but then this player Imp on the team who actually won MVP, people say like he's really good. What do you think overall of AD carries in Korea? Like, are they as good? Are they used differently? What do you think?
I think if I would go to Korea right now and play versus for example, Imp, I would have got raped.
Okay.
I think they are just better. That they play so good. Like I don't know how it is. We play the same. Like we spent hours in front of PC, and they just play better than us. That's all.
One thing that I've noticed is a lot of the Koreans have a few champions who like they're so good on that, like they have really high ban pick rates. And I read on, for example, like the top laner for Blaze, this guy called Flame, I read on his Leaguepedia that he'd played something like 900 games with Kennen. So like he's really good like with Kennen, okay. But if you look at the EU LCS, the actual pick ban list is really long. There's a lot of champions being picked. So it seems like in Europe, instead of specializing on just a few, people try to have like as wide as possible so they can do weird picks or counter picks. Do you think this is true?
That's actually true, because in Korea, the teams are so stable. They are not risking anything. They're just picking the best champions possible. And in Europe, sometimes people want to surprise someone with, for example, like Diamond did with Karma in jungle. He just surprised with that pick, and sometimes it can win you the game. But Koreans, they are just stable. They play really well. They pick the best champions and just stick to their plan.
One player who you've had a lot of trouble in your career facing at AD carry is Genja from Moscow 5, Gambit Gaming now. He gets a lot of people criticize him now, and they say things like he's too passive or he doesn't like take any risks. But it was obviously his team has done quite well against your teams historically. What is it like to play in the lane against him? Like what is it? What does he do? What is he good at? What does he have any weaknesses that are specific?
For me, Genja is really weird in game. he has his own playstyle. Like I never played versus other AD carry like him. It's really hard to punish him for something all the time when you push. Like right now in the LCS, he's picking strong champions like MF and Thresh. It's like, for me, it's the best lane 2v2. So if you push too much with Vayne or something, he's trying to freeze as much as he can and deny you. And others are just pushing the turret or something like this. He doesn't care about this. He's just freezing, getting stronger, and then he's like really like his playstyle is really good. Like, and it also, because of his team, allows him to play like this. And for me, he's a great player, and also he's really wise. Like with his playstyle, it's really good. He does. Okay, that's all.
Okay. So, since you're one of the few people who can give me an answer on this, how was it? What was the difference playing Genja when he had Edward, and then playing him with these other supports who they've had to use in Gambit now? What did it change how he played, or how Gambit in general played in the bottom lane?
Right now, I feel like with Voidal, I think it's the same. They play the same. Edward, he was better than Voidal. He was hitting skill shots like perfectly, but in the end, I think they disagreed on each other. And like Edward used to be so aggressive and Genja passive, and right now I think that Genja is telling his support what to do, and I think it's better for him right now.
Another AD carry who we don't see at the moment in the pro scene is Rekkles, because they're waiting until he becomes 17. He can play for Fnatic, it sounds like. But you got to play him a bit when he was in Fnatic that brief time, and in 2012. Since the hype is from when they were at IPL 5 and those big results, is he like at all overhyped? Like how good? Evaluate like how you think Rekkles is from playing him, or you know.
He was really good back then. And right now I haven't played versus him for a month. I don't remember the game when I played him last time, but many people are saying he's good, and not only people on Reddit, many pro players, so he has to be good.
So do you think he's a better AD carry than YellowStar?
Than YellowStar, yeah. I think he is better than YellowStar.
Okay. So I want to ask about an AD carry who's Polish, Makler, MYM player, and MYM have had the similar lineup for a very, very long time now. What is his style of play? Is he like a typical Polish AD carry? What's he like?
I don't know what's typical Polish AD carry, but I think he should improve his mechanics a bit. And I think at their bottom lane, the Libik is making so much presence. Like he used to make so much presence on lane, and it was really annoying to lane against them. But right now they are struggling a lot, and I feel like they should just improve their skill level.
If we look over the last, say, like the last 9 months of League of Legends, so we had the MYM lineup, we had the Anexus lineup that did well at Sao Paulo, we have you, we had Super AZ. This is like 12 players here, all Polish players, all at like a good level, but not like the absolute top level. If we took the right 5 players out of this lineup, these 12 players, if we took the right 5 players, could we make like a team that would be like the top team in Europe or top 3 in Europe? Would it work?
Of course, I think it would work, but it's also with other countries. If you take, for example, Germany, they have great players. They have Nif, they have Kevin, Kenny Panda, they play for SK now. They have like Foreign Lord, a lot of good players. So if you like take 5 the best players from each country, there would be just amazing teams, and they wouldn't have any troubles in communication. So I think every country could like get a really strong team.
So if I actually, for my last question, I always like to do a hypothetical. And so it's going to be along the lines of the question I just asked. Okay, so aliens come to Earth and they say to the Earthlings, like, we have like the technology, we have like rockets, bombs, we can just destroy the Earth now, but we're going to give you a chance. You have to play a game of League of Legends against the aliens. You have to make this team to beat them. So they pick Creaton because they've heard so much about you in LCS.EU, okay? And they've heard also, like, my interview comments, they say, oh, all these Polish players, they never had a top team though. So they tell Creaton, you're going to be AD carry, but you have to pick 4 Polish players for the other 4 positions, and this team has to be good enough to beat the aliens or we're all dead. So who are you going to pick to save the Earth? Polish players.
Right now, at this moment, I would have picked Charu for mid lane, Kubon for... No, actually, I would right now I'd take Overpaw for mid lane, Kubon for top lane, for jungle I would take Mokate, and for support Libik. So I would pretty much take MIM and Overpaw.
Okay. Was there ever a time when you would have picked other Polish players for those positions, like Zaxxus or something? Is there anyone else that would have come to mind in the past to be one of those positions?
In the past, like in season 2, I would take Salaver for mid lane. There was a good Polish player who played top lane, but I don't remember his nickname.
Which team?
I don't remember. I think he didn't play in any team.
Ah, okay.
I think I would take Arkel for top at this time, Libik for support, and Veggie in the jungle.
Okay, so do you have any final words for someone who watched this, or someone you want to thank or say hello to?
Thanks everyone for support, I really appreciate that, and also thanks to our sponsors for allowing us to do everything. I love you guys.
Dziękuję.
Dziękuję.